Alright, here we go on another episode. It's been a little too long since I've done any more videos on this, but hey, here we are. I'm going to do some more work on the fuselage, but I'm going to go do the empennage now. But I just want to show I've got my firewall put in, and like the original plan to this plane was to have a tricycle gear, but I don't really like tricycle gear, so I'm going to go ahead and convert it to a tail dragger, and just because I like them. Even though I have my doubler put in there and I had my holes already made that I drew in Fusion, I'm just going to go ahead and I've got another plate that I'm going to cut out to put to double on the other side of here, and then drill my holes and put my gear here. And as a note, if you do convert something to a tail dragger or vice versa to tricycle gear, you want the center of your axle to be right at the leading edge of your wing. That's for a tail dragger. And then for tricycle gear, you want the center of the axle to be about 15 degrees off from your center of gravity. And that'll give you the right place for rotation to happen and all that. But I did find a couple of different nose gear mounts and all that stuff, but I decided I'm not going to do that. Alright, so here's all the parts for the empennage, and then we put these to the side here. And the nice thing about this, the way I did this, I should have cleaned this off before I started this video, but I'll be alright. Is everything jigs together so you don't have to have any plans? Well, let me clean this off. So I don't mess up my building board any more than what I've already messed it up through the years. I'm going to put a piece of plastic down here, and let me just get this out of the way. I can't believe I got that there. Okay, that's good enough. I'll clean that up later. Alright, so just so I don't glue it there, and then again I'm going to use my regular wood glue, and then I'm going to get me some pens and I'll assemble this. I just use a magnet to hold pins and everything else together. It's kind of handy. And then I'm going to use regular wood glue. Now for these parts you could use CA glue on here, you know, cyanoacrylate or super glue, what have you, and you'd probably be fine. But like I said, I don't like the hard spots that I get with it, so that's why I'm just going to go ahead and use the super glue. I think I'm going to start with the stabilizer first. The horizontal stabilizer, I should say. And all this kind of just basically falls into place. And I have this all labeled, you know, S2, and then S1 is right here. Let me just get that little tiny thing off of there. Okay, here we go. So there's S1, S2. And if you've got your laser set right, all of these pieces should just fit nice and firmly. S3. And I got S4 here. Like so. It's nice to pre-fit everything. And one of the things that I've done is, if you look here, I always notch these so so that kind of locks in together, and it helps it line everything up. But mine are always, these long parts always, or the longer pieces will always go over the top of these. That's just kind of how I do it, and it helps me remember when I'm building. So let me, I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. And I like to put the glue in here and something that, and sometimes a little brush works good, but a stick works good as well. And one thing, if you've got your laser set right, you should have your kerf adjusted so that you're getting a nice, good, tight joints. I spent a lot of time trying to get mine tweaked so I was able to achieve nice joints. It took me a little bit, but I have finally gotten there. Okay, so that piece should square up pretty good. I'm just going to pin this down. You can also use a magnet board, and I've got one of those, and I use it sometimes. But most people don't have that. They have pins, and pins are pretty good. So if you look here where I have that little tab was, it kind of sticks down a little bit. And I'm just going to lightly shave that off, if I can. With the scalpel there. Make sure I don't have any more anywhere else. And that looks pretty good right there. I can take a straight edge. And I'm just going to make sure that this doesn't have any odd flecks in it while I'm building it. I'm going to go ahead and pin this down here. There we go. Alright. I know this kind of video gets a little boring, but hey. Sometimes it's fun to watch somebody build something. I'm going to go ahead and put a little glue right there. And then let's get some glue here. Yeah, I'll get back to the fuselage once I get that other part cut for the landing gear. And I did find another couple of things that I needed to fix in Fusion for the next ones that I cut, which I am planning on making kits of this particular airplane. And currently the wing doesn't have ailerons on it, and it flies fine without it. I know a lot of people think you have to have ailerons on everything, but you really don't. If it's designed to not need it, it doesn't need it. In fact, I flew ultralights for a while, and most of them didn't use ailerons to turn. A lot of them had them on there, but you still would. Your primary way to change directions was with the rudder, because they had so much dihedral in the wings. But with that said, I am going to draw another wing and offer a kit with ailerons. So I'm currently in the middle of working all that up. Alright. Yeah, if you use a magnet to hold your pins, you get everything attached to it. But at least you don't lose screws, right? Okay, now I know on here I have the ribs for this. I'm guessing it's probably these. That's that one. That's that one. That's that one. I had someone message me the other day asking about, they were drawing a Fokker World War I plane, and they were having some troubles with how to draw that type of fuselage. I'm gonna go ahead and make a video on that, but it's gonna be very similar to how I did the turtle decks. So be on the lookout for that on another Fusion thing. And I hope everybody's using Fusion okay, and it's not as such of a mystery anymore. Alright. Yeah, here's a perfect example of why I like this glue so much. When it does get all over the place, it'll sand right off with no problems. Alright. Yeah, it's raining here for the first time in a long time. So I just sent a message to one of my flying buddies, and I'm like, you know, the field's going to have to be mowed. And he happened to donate one of those really nice lawnmowers they use for golf courses. So now when he cuts it, it's almost like a nice low-cut fairway, which is great for me because I like to fly small stuff mostly. Little wheels like the small grass, right? But anyway, one of the things I see some people cutting kits out is they will incorporate these rib parts as like they'll cut this entire thing out of one piece. And so these ribs will have the grain, and it's really important, grain direction in when you're using any kind of wood. But, and I may post a picture of it, but the grain, so they'll just cut a lightning hole in a flat piece, and they'll just cut lightning holes throughout. And you can do lightning holes as long as they're staggered and you don't have like a bridge where all this grain is just, because the grain's running this way if you were to cut this out of one piece, and then that becomes weak. You don't have any strength there because the grain's running the wrong way. Here, the grain's running this way, and then I got grain running this way, and again grain here and grain running here. So you have less chance of this warping. One, because it's assembled in several pieces, so it's not one grain that you're dealing with. So if one piece of wood wants to move, these other pieces are going to help prevent it from moving. And you're going to have a lot more strength because if something does hit right here, it's not really going to break this. So this is a lot stronger type of structure. So when you are looking at kits, look at that, how they engineer that wood grain. That's real important to the strength of, you know, any structure and substructure that you may be dealing with. Yeah, I see that, and I think of a lot of guys that just haven't really built that many airplanes and haven't gone back to the ways that other people have learned that came before. And there's a lot to be learned at, and it's good to expand on that, but it's always good to see what the other guys did. Alright, so here we have vertical stab 1. That's VS4. Got these little tiny ribs. VS2 right here. Then I have VS3. Oops, I'm going to be dropping all this stuff here. Okay, and then these are the ribs for the vertical stabilizer. That's what VS stands for, vertical stabilizer. Okay, so this is going to be the front, and if you notice I have this nice big slot here on elevator, or this horizontal stabilizer, and that's going to lock into that. Plus, this part slides into here. So you'll put the horizontal stabilizer in, and then the vertical stabilizer will go through this slot and into this slot. And other than some slight adjustments to get your vertical stabilizer vertical, you're locked in, and you've got a really strong empennage. I can't tell you, like, there's so many kits that I built. You would glue your vertical fin just on top of the fuselage. You wouldn't have a slot to put it in, and that's really a weak joint. And we would do things like putting triangle, boss on each side to make like a wood fillet to kind of give it support. But even then, you weren't guaranteed that it was straight, and it could be canted one way or the other. It could be sitting in here like this or this, and it wouldn't be much, just a tiny little bit, and you would wonder why you could never get your airplane trim. But with this, when you slide that in there, it's dead straight with the with the center line of your fuselage, and that makes things a lot easier to trim out later on. So this is going to be the front, and if you look, this part has a little bit of a curve to it, this VS3, and that goes here. And then this goes here. And this VS4 is going to slide in just like this. I'm hoping I do this right. That looks right. And then my ribs should be able to fit like so. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So again, this follows my rule where the long pieces are going to overlap your shorter pieces, so you can consider these like rails in these styles if you're a cabinet builder. You can think of it like that. Alright, we'll pin this down. But anyway, I hope everybody's learning some things. I know I get messages every now and then, people thanking me and then asking me more questions, and I welcome the questions. It's part of it, That's one thing about this hobby. If it's not shared, it's not as much fun. Alright, get a little glue there. Then this top piece. Okay, make sure all those joints are nice and tight. They're looking pretty good. Alright, that should fit right there, and it does. Get a little more glue in here. I know a lot of people put music on their videos too, but I can't put the kind of music that I want to put that was on my video because they would come after me for copyright stuff. But I usually, when I watch a video, I kind of just want to watch it without music a lot of times. Just makes it easier for me to concentrate, because being a musician, I'm listening to the music going, why did they do that in a song? Alright, so there is the vertical stabilizer. Now let's do the rudder. The rudder is built up. The elevator on this airplane is not built up. And I could have made it built up, but I just went ahead and left it, you know, solid pieces. And I could have put some lightning holes in it, but I tend to cut from lighter weight balsa. I prefer SIG balsa over anything out there. It's consistent, and it tends to be a little better grade throughout than some of the other places that I've used before in the past. But that's my personal opinion. That's decided to stick in there a little bit. We'll get the scalpel out. In case you don't know, I prefer using scalpels over X-Acto knives. One, the price. Two, they stay sharper a lot longer. I think that some of the hobby knives really don't last that long for a reason. And also use a lot of you know, straight razor blades like this for cutting stuff. Alright, that's done. Here we have R1. I guess I could have built it on the back of that, but we'll go like this. And then, what have we here? Let's see, how do we do, there we go. Is that right? R1, R3, R4. Goes. You can tell my ribs are not lining up. That works like that, but that doesn't look right. I think this is upside down. Well, look at that. That looks right. You can see everything lines up. So it looks like the little radius goes down there. I think that's right. I thought I would have put the radius on the top edge. Let me just line this up. It's been a while since I drew this in Fusion. I'm trying to remember how I had it. Like this. Make sure I get this right. And here. And that looks like it. Okay. Make sure I got that right. I've been known to make mistakes. Get a couple of pins in there. Let's get some glue in here. Glue to dry out. Yep, the other thing you can do with the wood glue that you cannot do with super glue is wipe it off with your fingers. Well, you could, but you might be stuck to your part. And two, one of the things too with wood glue, if you make a mistake, in fact somebody asked this on one of the forums the other day, how do they get a super glue joint apart? Well, you can. They make a debonder. You might try acetone, but I know they have a debonder and that works pretty good. You got to wait a little bit. With wood glue, you can soak it in warm water, or soak the joint in warm water, and that works really well. And if you really want to be able to move joints apart, you can get you some of this. This is a cellulose-based glue, and it's fantastic because you can actually use acetone to move your joints. And way back in the day, there was a brand called Ambroid, and everybody swore by the Ambroid, but I found this to be nearly the same as Ambroid, and they don't make Ambroid anymore, but Sig makes this Sigment, and it's good stuff. I use it for lighter weight free flight type planes because it is lighter, and sometimes you need to move parts around or whatever, and it's fantastic for that. Just a little bit of acetone on a brush and you're good. However, speaking of using acetone, make sure you use it in a well ventilated place because it is nauseous and probably not healthy to breathe. As a kid, I covered all my airplanes with dope and tissue and silk span, and I didn't know better, but I did that in my room with all the doors closed. But hey, I didn't do anything else growing up, so I guess that's okay. And what brain cells survived, I guess they did okay. But don't do it. Yeah. I still like to use airplane dope. I just right now live in an apartment, so it's not. I'm pretty sure the neighbors don't want to smell airplane dope coming through their walls. But I could do it up at my shop. Alright, after this piece, that'll be the end of this video. You notice I got glue and stuff all over my fingers, but it's alright. We'll sand it all down. Alright, there we have it. So we'll let that dry, and we'll come back and do another video. Hopefully I'll get another one out this week. But what I'll do now, I'm not going to worry too much about joining my, well, I will join my elevators. I'll get a little wood dowel. I got some dowel coming in, 3/16 dowel, and I'll just cut a notch in here, and then you glue that wood dowel in there, and that joins your elevators together. And but I'll come back, I'll sand these down a little bit, and then we'll get back to work on the fuselage. I still need to put my landing gear block in here, and then also I'm gonna have to cut a notch in here because I didn't do it in Fusion. This is supposed to be inset in there, and then we'll put our little cowling sheet over this, and you could make this a hatch or whatever, or you could put a hatch on the bottom, however you want to do it. I don't mind taking the wings off. I may just cut out and put a hatch down here on the bottom, and I'll probably put that on with the kit. So I'll go ahead and finish that, and then mount the servos. Go ahead and get these up mounted, the empennage mounted, so we know where all that's going to be, and then we'll make a motor mount. Let's do final sanding on this, and then we'll start working on the wings. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing great. If you got any more questions or anything, just holler at me. I'll be glad to answer them. I hope y'all are having a good one. Hit that like button, and thank you for subscribing.